So, recently, I finished the Lies of P Overture DLC. Let me tell you something, this is one of the best DLCs I've ever played. Lies of P was already a masterpiece, I would argue the best Souls-like game out there, but man, the Overture DLC really seals the deal here. And I could talk about a lot of things this game does right, and I do intend on doing a deep dive much later on the entire game, but for now, I want to focus on the boss fights in Overture. Lies of P was already a very difficult game. I think Sekiro, but with tighter parry windows and heavier consequences. In Overture, the bosses are tuned to the max. There is little room for mistakes, but in the best way possible. There was not one boss in the DLC that I steamrolled through. Each one provided a unique set of challenges and set of skills needed to master the fight. I love it when a game does this. So think of this video as an analysis on why the bosses in Overture are great, but also a boss ranking, from worst to best. And for the record, I played this on the hardest difficulty, Legendary Stalker, just wanted to throw that out there. But without further ado, my name is Josh, also known as the Camel Centaur, and I hope you enjoy. I lied, by the way. There was one boss I skipped over because I couldn't figure out where it was until after writing the intro. The pre-metamorphic Green Hunter. This is the only boss in the entire game I think I defeated on my first try, solely because I fought the regular version in the base game so many times. Lies of P Overture takes place in the past, where certain events haven't happened yet, or you witness crucial moments occur that bring light into the more obscure parts of the story. In the base game, you fight a boss known as the Green Monster of the Swamp, a giant carcass that devours puppets. In Overture, you fight the baby version of that boss. I think it's amazing when a boss fights have connections from the DLC to the base game, similar to, I guess, Radahn and Miquella in Elden Ring's Shadow of the Erdtree. Unfortunately, I don't really have much to say about this boss because I did beat it on the first try. I didn't really master its moveset or take in all that it had to offer. You don't really truly beat it anyway, it just kind of escapes into the caverns because, I mean, think about it. If you beat it here, then you wouldn't fight it in the present, which creates a continuity error, so I get why they would do this. This isn't Marvel Comics, okay? What I don't get is why they would stuff a giant 30-foot crocodile in the middle of a bite-sized arena. The camera in this fight was the absolute worst it has ever been. Look, I'll glaze this game until the day I pass gas, but why do this? The Tyrannical Predator could have been an alright boss if we had a bigger arena. And it's not like you can push it towards the middle for more room, it's a 30-foot mutated crocodile. This isn't the C-tier movie Rampage, back up the friggin' snout, dude. Lies of P truly is a Souls-like through and through, because with all the amazing boss fights, there's a few culprits that stain the overall score. Also, screw that grab attack. I can perfectly parry the final boss's second phase combo, but I just cannot dodge this grab. It's pretty annoying. Verinique is the first boss on this list that highlights the best part about Lies of P's combat, the parry system. Not that you can't parry the big monsters, but fighting a smaller enemy with a distinct combo game makes the combat so much more enjoyable. Verinique is like your typical NPC boss, except she's on that 2-year later DLC difficulty. She uses a giant hammer that can create AoEs of fire damage, making it difficult to stay in her face and keep up the pressure. In Overture, the bosses are very similar to the main game, but just better overall, if I'm being honest, because most of the base game NPC bosses were good, but I prefer Verinique over any of them. This is because, while she can be difficult, I found myself getting used to her patterns faster than most bosses. Getting into that loop of parrying that giant hammer will never not be satisfying. I was also reminded of one of my favorite mechanics in this game. I totally forgot that if you parry enough, the weapon of the boss will break. It is such a unique and fun mechanic that rewards riskier gameplay. She does way less damage now and can't create those fire AoEs anymore, so it's beneficial. She does feed you some easier attacks to dodge or take advantage of, but her purpose is not to be the most difficult boss in the game. Still, it took me about, I think it was about like 30 minutes to defeat her. I knew I was getting angry because I was getting frustrated by the simple mishaps. Even her voice line started to piss me off. Still, this is a great boss because it's that simple gameplay loop that never fails in Lies of P. What's even better than that? A boss that has that same loop that then throws it all away in the second phase. Lumakio, leader of the bastards, is a great example. You can tell from your first conversation that he really is a bastard, and when you get to fight him, it's solidified by his choice of weaponry, a simple umbrella. Only a snarky, cocky jerk would use such a weapon against us. Although he does back up all that talk with surprising skill that even I had trouble mastering. For like 10 minutes. It took a little bit longer to beat him than Verinique, but it's not because he was hard. It's because the second phase was basically an entirely different fight. When you bring him down to half health, Lumakio will drink a miracle elixir given to him by the alchemists. This makes him stronger, I think, but what really matters is he recovers a huge portion of his health. This battle is a testament of endurance, for he not only recovers his health once, but twice. See, the second time, things don't go well for this bastard. Yeah, they gave him a miracle drug, alright, but the only miracle here is how he's still alive. He kinda looks like a snail from Junji Ito's The Spiral. Great read, by the way, and yet another manga reference in my videos. His second phase becomes an erratic dance of sloppy slashes and corrosive combos. In Liza P, the harder bosses are either quicker than you can react to, or their animations are hard to decipher. You can't parry all too well when you don't know when the attack is coming, so I had some trouble here for sure. Thankfully, I was using the Pale Knight, an amazing boss weapon that I used for, I would say, most of my playthrough. I took him down after a few tries, so it wasn't too bad. Honestly, pretty gross. Thankfully, there are no other disgusting bosses left on this list. Next up is the two-faced Overseer. This is a great boss, and it's because— Ugh, alright, I'll talk about you, fine. The Anguished Guardian of the Ruins. See, what I love about Liza P is it has 3 distinct themes. Puppets, alchemists, and whatever this is. It's a great juxtaposition, and the Guardian is one of the best carcass fights in the game. I said earlier that bigger bosses can't perform well with the parry-heavy gameplay, but you know what? Sometimes you don't really need that. What the Guardian makes up for in that category is cinematics. Besides, he's got a little arm that's great for parrying. Otherwise, just dodge and pray that you're out of the hitbox. No, but seriously, this is a great fight. I think what I like the most about it is the balance between difficulty and spectacle. It's visually more appealing than most bosses in the game, but still retains the difficulty of any other boss in the game. He took me a solid hour to defeat on my first time. Most of that can be attributed to his giant health bar. My successful run took me nearly 5 minutes, but there are some ways that the boss makes it easier. You'll notice his face horn and large left hand glow when dealt any damage. If you deal enough damage to the hand, you'll stun the boss for a good amount of time. However, if you break off the face horn, this leaves him open for an amazing critical hit animation, where you pierce his smaller face inside his face. Gross, but like whatever, his brain is now exposed. Second phase adds in more flair. By flair, I mean he has giant AoEs now. The normal unblockable attacks that leave him wide open afterwards, they now have a follow-up after you parry. So getting those openings feels more deserved now. Call me crazy, I love designs like this. Ones that contort the familiar. Body horror is one of my favorite types of horror, and the Guardian is the perfect representation of that. Overture does an excellent job of showcasing the creativity of their world's darkest secrets. This boss is found in the ancient ruins miles below the surface. It makes me wonder what else is hiding there. Doesn't really matter because you know what? This was a very fun boss that balanced difficulty, design, and cinematics beautifully. Now we can talk about the Overseer. For this fight, I had a little helper because I didn't want to miss out on any of the story beats. He actually wants you to call him, and it just didn't feel right to beat him without the tracker. Regardless, when I died 20 seconds into the fight, I think I might have needed help anyway. Overture does a great job of building the anticipation up until this fight. The tracker himself lends you a horn to call him for this battle, and the legendary stalker talks about this abomination. My mind was wondering throughout the whole prison what this boss looked like. What importance does he have to the story? And I'm happy to say, this fight met up to my expectations. His first form isn't anything crazy, just your average Goliath swings that I got used to after a few fights. Of course, this wouldn't be Liza P without a crazy twist. In this form, his quote-unquote second face takes over and becomes less predictable. With two faces comes two variations of the same boss essentially, both working together to create a great experience. Even with the tracker's help, the Overseer took me nearly 20 minutes. By myself, he took me 10, but that's because I was used to his moveset already. What makes him and some of these other bosses more challenging than in other games is you have to keep track of your weapon's sharpness. It's exactly like Monster Hunter with the whetstones, except you have a boss in your face 24/7. Also, the Overseer has probably one of the most brutal grabs in the entire game. I just wanted to show you guys that. I think it's cool. The second boss you face, and ironically second place on my list, is Markiona, Puppeteer of Death. In all categories, I find that there's nothing wrong with her. For Liza P. Overture, she'll be an instant highlight for almost all players. I would argue she's in the top 5 boss fights in the entire game. She is that good. The thing I want to emphasize with this fight is her unique fighting style. She'll do what her name says and puppeteer a giant puppet to fight for her. This puppet has its own array of attacks that complement Markiona's own playstyle. While you're focused on the puppet, she might swing in from the side while you're distracted, or they might even attack together. It doesn't feel like you're fighting 2 bosses, so it's not that bad, but it doesn't feel like you're fighting 1. More like 1.5, I guess. Liza P has such a well-baked gameplay loop that bosses with unique mechanics, such as controlling an individual mini-boss, works extraordinarily well. And it's balanced by the color indication on the strings. They turn red when the puppet is about to attack. You can tackle this fight in 2 ways. Either bring the puppet down to focus on Markiona, this does leave her wide open, or you can focus on her and leave the puppet alone. Either way, this is a very tough fight, easily the second toughest fight in the DLC. Overture does a great job of exploring the boundaries of the gameplay's mechanics and speed without going overboard. Here's how I know Markiona is a great boss. She took me a solid hour to defeat. I didn't get annoyed once. Took me about 25 minutes for Verinique. I got annoyed about halfway through. The key difference is I enjoyed the process of mastering Markiona's fight. And I can't say that for many bosses, not only in Liza P, but in video games overall. The fight is already insane, so the second phase only adds a few new strong attacks, but nothing a few more attempts can't handle. Overture gives these bosses so many different combos with different timings or delays that are hard to master, but enjoyable to learn from. Markiona was close, but nothing compares to the final boss in the DLC.
Where's the legend I faced before?
Markiona, the Blood Artist, is not only the toughest fight in this game, but one of the toughest fights in modern gaming. And I say that as a compliment. If you ask me, this is the modern Orphan of Kos. It's been 11 years, and wow. Dude, it's been 11 years since Bloodborne came out. Jeez, I feel old. Sorry, but it's about time we had a boss that stood up to that difficulty back then. Now, I will admit, for story purposes, I did have the legendary Stalker help me. I mean, it makes sense to do so. It's like having Aigon fight with you against Bale. You just can't do it without that special someone by your side. I did, however, attempt to fight him alone for a couple of hours. And guess what? I didn't beat him. After all my experiences with incredibly hard and difficult games, Markiona taking me a couple of hours is similar to a day's worth of attempts when I first fought Orphan of Kos. So what makes this boss not only very difficult, but the best boss in my opinion? Firstly, the voice actor was really getting into it. And you know what? When acting for a serial killer, it makes perfect sense.
This is exactly what I've been waiting for!
He's actually an NPC in the base game that gives you all those riddles, so it's cool to see him here as the final boss for the DLC. Markiona has a wide array of combos that, for me, are very hard to parry. His erratic movements and wild gestures make it hard to decipher when I should parry or if I have an opening. He doesn't give you any breathing room, even when you're healing. You heard me. Markiona responds to your healing by going on a killing spree combo that you can't react to because of the healing animation. And you know what? I think it's a bit artificial, but it didn't stop me from loving this boss. Oh, and by the way, this is just the first phase. Markiona's second phase cutscene is one of my favorites in the game. It really emphasizes his insanity and new design. I love Liza P's puppet designs because they're a bit uncanny, but still really cool. Markiona is straight up just a monster, and I love that. As for the second phase, it is an easy 11 out of 10 in difficulty. Most bosses don't even compare to his first phase. And then we get this insane combo that begins the friggin' second phase. I have so many attempts recorded where I die to this combo because it just kept on going. But much like a well-designed boss should be, I got better and better. I learned the timing to his opening combo and mastered all the individual attacks after about like 30 minutes. He inflicts the break status with his attacks too, so it doesn't take long before you're actually boned from missed parries. His chip damage is insane on any failed parry attempt. And with the giant saws too, man, that's just so cool. Even with the legendary Stalker by your side, he's still easily the most difficult boss in the game. Trying to fight him alone? Forget it. I still haven't defeated him alone yet. He truly is ridiculous. I said that Markiona pushes the boundaries of the game's speed, but Arlecchino pushes the boundaries of your own sanity. I don't need those stupid online tests to see if I have anxiety. I'll just play Overture again. My only real problem is the arena. It's not as grand as a final boss should be. Maybe I've been spoiled by Slave Knight Gale or the Night Lord, but make it bigger. I get it, you know, the blood pool, he's a blood artist. He has a little blood in his coat here, but make it bigger. In all seriousness, Arlecchino is now one of my favorite bosses in video games. I understand some may think he's overtuned, but for me, he's perfect. But that's just what I think. I'm curious to know your own thoughts on the DLC and your favorite moments of the boss fights. So let me know. As for me, I'm gonna go fill up the kiddie pool with Dr. Pepper and drink it, and when I'm done, I'll be back in my next video. Thanks for watching, and if you did enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like and to subscribe for more content like this. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care everyone, and of course, stay safe.